Listen, kale smoothies and meditating over crystals are going to take a back seat to psychological survival. There's no crystal big enough to make this go away. Let's talk a little bit about the challenge of wellness for people who are going through, or frankly, survivors of narcissistic relationships, or grow up in narcissistic relationships. So, I recently have had, in the last several months, the experience of listening and being exposed to a lot of wellness stuff, and it happened in a short period of time. Like, this wellness rhetoric isn't really my cup of tea. Listen, I'm very clear. I need to sleep more. I need to exercise more. All of us need to, we can eat better. It's not rocket science, right? And I also know that this is a problem I have. The way my life is set up, my own present and current psychological demons. As I listen to hour and hour after lots of wellness talky, I recognize that the knowing these things, sleep, eat well, all that wasn't the issue. For a lot of people, I recognize this is structural and it's practical. And for me, it was old voices inside of me. And I know that's not just me. And yet, not one of the wellness
gurus took this on. They assumed that we could all eat a big old pot of beans for breakfast. Now, the basic structure of any narcissistic relationship is this, right? If you want to do something for yourself, for your well-being, or if you ask for something for yourself, or you make a need known, or you openly disagree with a narcissistic person, you're going to be told that you're a problem, right? You're typically going to be called selfish, or greedy, or demanding, or out of line, or ungrateful, or how dare you, or what's your problem? And then there's all that unspoken stuff that happens, right? The silent treatment, the contempt, the unspoken disapproval. These relationships are a process of indoctrination. This doesn't happen just once. It becomes sort of the unspoken, and at times even spoken, contract of the narcissistic relationship. And the unspoken contract here is, well, for this relationship to keep going, yes, I have to become a person who has no demands, no needs, no wants, no you separate from them. And then everything will be just fine. That this whole relationship can keep going as long as you don't become too you. That means that if you, for example, have a narcissistic or had a narcissistic parent, you
learned at a very early age that this wasn't about attachment and safety and the importance of you as the child. It was your role to mirror them, to be in their shadow, to be big only if they want you to, and to be small when they need you to. And that you should be able to mind read and figure that out, right? And as a kid, you don't have much of a choice but to go along with the program for all the reasons of safety and all that. And if you're going to remain attached to that narcissistic parent, what options do you have? In an intimate relationship, though, when you're in adulthood, you may go along to get along. You have invested time into this. There's enough normal or good stuff that you think like, I don't need to make a fuss about this. I could compromise. And you keep hearing, though, that you are too demanding. And that may play on existing wounds you carry from earlier in your life. And what happens to many in these people in these relationships is you become smaller and smaller and smaller to fit into the relationship, but you aren't aware that you're shrinking yourself. And it's the same with friendships. And it's the same with any narcissistic relationship. That means that people in narcissistic relationships who are typically always doing, or always making themselves smaller, sort of scrunching themselves down.
You're always doing, right? Keeping the trains running on time, the household running well, the workplace running well. You anticipate people's needs. You do stuff you don't want to do all the time. Again, the scrunching is you making yourself smaller and smaller and smaller. You don't say stuff. You hold back. You don't share stuff. And yes, I know that a lot of this is survival. You ain't got options. But if you don't have other places to take the stuff that is you, that matters to you, your cares, your needs, your wants, your aspirations, then you do get shrunken. In the damned relationship, or narcissistic relationship, or relationships, they really are like a full-time job with no time for you. Now, let's go back to wellness, Because where exactly in this schedule does would wellness stuff ever fit in the first place? Listen, it takes time to cook in this whole longevity wellness way, or to eat like this, to have your garden, to sleep in such an optimized way, to exercise at the optimized time, to go to the farmer's market, to do all these things in the ideal way for your body, to meditate, to let go of toxicity. It was not lost on me that over the past few years, and I'm a good sport, and I show up like the good student, and I listen to these many, many hours of wellness talks. Not one of these people ever talked about the greatest toxicity that does the most damage. They're talking about additives and this and that. That ain't your problem. The greatest toxicity is this antagonistic stuff, antagonistic people. Because
when you think about it, if you were to take that time for your early morning workout, requiring the cooperation of your partner with the kids, or the exercise class, or the time for meditation, or the bedtime routine, or the preparation of the optimized longevity breakfast, can you imagine making this need known in a narcissistic relationship? I need 20 minutes to make my longevity smoothie. They'd shut you down. You would be hit with every accusation of your selfishness, your vanity, your narcissism, your greed, your lack of gratitude, that you don't care about the kids, and that you are a bad person. Who can sustain that? You're like, to make this person stop yelling at me, I'm just going to go back to having a Diet Coke for breakfast. And the ringer was, how many wellness influencers talk about relationships as a driver of good health, but give absolutely no credence or voice to the harm that has been done to people by toxic relationships, and how hard it can be to get into a relationship again, to trust again. Do not get me started. Though I think I'm started. That's what this video was about. So can you imagine in a narcissistic family saying that, hey, how about we eat this certain way for our longevity, or a certain food, or let's spend more money on organic, fresh foods? You would be shut down immediately and called selfish. And many people in narcissistic relationships will say that.
A major impediment to healthy sleep, which is often put out there as a pillar of health and wellness, is rumination. Folks, this is not about your sleep chronotype. This is about mentally grinding over the gaslighting and betrayal you experienced on many days in these relationships. And no, you cannot mantra or meditate this away. It sticks in your mind and it keeps you up at night. Being in a narcissistic relationship is not good for your health. Full stop. I've seen people die younger than they should have, develop all kinds of health issues, the stress and the corresponding endocrine and nervous system response, the disruption to healthy habits, the difficulty in being able to institute healthy habits, and the chaos created by these relationships, as well as that chronic sense of self-devaluation that leads people to believe that maybe that I don't deserve all this. I'm being selfish if I do all this wellness stuff. Who am I to do this? But a lot of it is just the simple lack of time, too. It takes a lot of time to deal with all the angry messages and the demanding messages from manipulative ex-partner co-parents, or the guilt-laden messages from narcissistic family members, the unrealistic and oppressive demands of a narcissistic boss or colleague or workplace. Listen, kale smoothies and meditating over crystals are going to take a back seat to psychological survival. There is no crystal big enough to make this go away.